Today we go over Star Wars Episode 9 when it comes to the ending of the movie. This is Mike Zero here. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, as you all know, ever since The Last Jedi released back in December of 2017, it left a lot of Star Wars fans around the world, including myself, wondering as to what's to come for characters Kylo Ren and Rey in Episode 9. And this is the thing. A lot of people have been throwing around ideas of Kylo Ren, having this redemption arc in Star Wars Episode 9 where he is indeed redeemed and you get that classical ending, much like at the very end of Return of the Jedi. Now, the one thing that I do want to bring up is a moment in The Last Jedi. I was skimming through it and I noticed the elevator scene in which both Rey and Kylo Ren are going up towards Supreme Leader Snoke's throne room. And for a second, I feel like that this was a little bit of foreshadowing for Star Wars Episode 9 for the ending of the film of what's actually going to happen between these two different characters. Where in that scene in the elevator in The Last Jedi, Rey goes up to Ben and she says that she knows the conflict that's going on with him and that she knows that he will turn, she will help him. She saw it in his, future when they touched hands. And then Kylo Ren goes on to say to Rey that he saw something too, that she will stand with him and that she will turn as well. And this is the very interesting part, is that I think that a lot of people, when we were looking at that scene, we were all led to believe that, that would be something that would be a part in The Last Jedi, where you have both Kylo Ren and Rey turning. However, what if that elevator scene at the very end, or should I say in the middle of The Last Jedi, is a little bit of foreshadowing as to what's going to happen at the very ending of Episode 9. Again, George Lucas's whole entire outlook of Star Wars as a whole, it's like poetry, it rhymes. And since J.J. Abrams will be implementing prequel trilogy continuity and prequel trilogy content and ideas, etc., and parallels once again in this movie, what if we got something similar in a sense to that of Revenge of the Sith with Anakin Skywalker turning and then Obi-Wan Kenobi going up against his own friend? What if we got something like that at the very end of Episode 9, where Rey turns to the dark side, and then Kylo Ren turns to the light, where they eventually collide into each other and engage in a big lightsaber duel? And after all, we have been hearing about this big lightsaber scene that both Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley will be training for on and off throughout August for a shoot in September over at Pinewood Studios. So that's a very interesting pointer right there. Could J.J. Abrams very well be channeling the whole entire idea of Anakin versus Obi-Wan with Kylo Ren going up against Rey, where you have this dynamic where Rey is kind of like Anakin, where she turns to the dark side and goes up against Kylo Ren, or just Ben Solo because he turned. And I think that if you look at the prequel trilogy, it did take 2 whole films for Anakin Skywalker to really have deep conflict within himself. Episode 1, he's just a kid. Episode 2, he's all grown up. And then in Episode 3, we got a little time jump there, and that is when you really do see the conflict within Anakin Skywalker. What if we got something like that, where at the very end of the film, you get this real big decline within the character of Rey, where she turns to the dark side for whatever reason it may be. Maybe Kylo Ren does something, or maybe he takes something away from her. I don't know what will happen. But maybe there's this little, thing that Kylo Ren does that provokes her to turn to the dark, and then maybe Rey does something that provokes him to turn to the light, where they eventually collide into this big lightsaber duel, where Rey, unfortunately, meets her death, and then Ben Solo lives on. And that is the continuation, technically, of the whole entire Skywalker lineage. Now, after all, these movies really are all about family, and Ben Solo is the only family member left of the Skywalker Solo bloodline. So with that being said, I think it would be brilliant if they did something like that. It would change things up a bit. It would be a parallel to that of Revenge of the Sith, and we do know that both JJ and Rian have been talking back and forth with each other for a very long time now in between making of these movies, and Rian Johnson used a lot of parallels from Revenge of the Sith in The Last Jedi, and given that JJ will be using prequel trilogy content, it's very interesting stuff for sure. But the other thing here, is if they were to do this, would you guys see this as a good or a bad thing if Ben turned and Rey turned, where they eventually collide into a big duel? I think that it would change things up, because a lot of people would say, well, if Ben Solo turns to the light, it would be way too similar to that of Darth Vader turning to the light in Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. However, if they did have a Ben Solo redemption arc in Episode 9, that would actually change it up and make it not a direct copy, where Rey turns to the dark and then Ben Solo has to go up against her. That to me would sound brilliant. But anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.